garden friends, welcome back to my classroom and into my indoor garden. Today I'm going to be doing a quick lesson on how to divide or split, propagate your Monstera. Some people call it a split leaf philodendron, or Monstera is a very popular plant right now, and so why not learn how to grow them? I've already actually cut these. What I did is I had a Monstera that was growing at home, or many of them actually, and they got so big and they're overgrown their pots, and I could see that it was time to kind of maybe get them divided. So I picked a good spot. You can see back here, far enough back. I got several nodes back. Usually I'd go a little bit further back than this, but this is as far back as I could go on this one. Typically I'd take a little bit more of this stem if I could, because if you do a bit more, it's a bit hardier. This one you could see was growing just right out of the pot so much, it was actually rooting out of my patio, it was rooting into the soil nearby. So there's not going to be any shortage of roots on this one. Whereas you can see, in contrast, other times you might cut and kind of not take as much as you'd like. So this isn't super ideal. You can see some roots already coming out, which is very promising. But typically I might like to go back at least three full healthy nodes from the tip there to get enough stem there for them to root. But you know what? This plant's going to do really well for me. I think I'm just going to baby this one. The rest of them all look kind of like this first one right here. It's, where they have tons of roots already just bursting out of them. So they were in these little tiny pots. Now we're going to cut them. We're going to upgrade the larger sections into larger pots. I'll probably end up upgrading these ones to some fresh soil in a larger pot as well. And so we'll see how it goes. One thing to keep in mind is have a larger container, good potting soil that drains well. I'm actually going to use a nice organic starter fertilizer here that'll help with the transplant shock, help with that root growth, introduce some mycorrhizal fungi and a mild dose of nutrition to our plants, and so they'll probably appreciate that. I'm gonna get them potted up, watered up, put away. It's nice and warm inside my classroom, relatively to outside for sure, and it gets a lot of bright indirect light, which these Monstera are just gonna love. And so you see they've been going crazy, right? They got that beautiful, just gorgeous kind of tropical leaf, and so that's what we want to grow more of. What we do here is we'll grow more, let those get larger, we'll keep a few as mothers, and then the rest get sold or given away to the students. So that's basically it. So I'm going to fast forward on some work real quick, and we'll show you the progress at the end, and I'll show you where I have them up in my classroom. So hang tight. All right, so I'm just about done, but I wanted to show you guys. I just pulled this out of its container, and look how root bound this plant is. I mean, it is tore up. It has been in there probably for actually about 2 years now, getting cut back, regrowing, cut back, regrowing. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to massage these roots loose, and I'm actually going to give this little beauty a brand new home. So that way they'll have a lot more space to root out into and get big. So let's take a look at that. So I know I spent a minute massaging these roots, loosening them up a bit. Now you can see the difference. Now they're kind of pulled away from each other. Some of the longer ones have been cut and removed, and so some of that excess has also been removed. But now they're not twangled up in a big knot. You know, before they were actually circling the root ball in either direction, following the shape of that container, the pot they were in, and it was starting to choke itself off or girdle. And so you don't want that. So we got them all loose now. Now we can put this in a fresh home, and this plant will do a lot better. So here you can see I got a plant with an extra long dangly root. So it's probably not going to be ideal to have that in the pot that long. So I'd recommend just get in there, find a good spot, cut that off, have a more manageable root. Boom. All right, so I actually got them all 4 repotted up into some larger containers with really good fresh potting soil. Make sure the containers have holes for drainage. I'm going to water them up really quick and get them into their home. But one thing you can do is, after you soak them, if you want to keep them from if you have a problem with transplant shock, or you're concerned that your plants might go into shock, this is a good time that if you put damage on the roots or any kind of stress on their root system, that you can kind of mitigate the problems with that by getting water straight on top of the leaves, the foliage of your plant, especially these big old ones right here. They can lose a lot of water or receive a lot of water. So I just spray them all down now that I've got them transplanted. I'll keep them misted the next few days lightly, and then I'll make sure their soil stays moist evenly as well. But this is one thing you can do, just a nice light mist throughout the day, maybe even a few times a day, until you know that plant is rooted in solid, and then you don't have to worry too much. But this is one thing you can do to kind of slow that down and help your plant. Well, that about wraps up today's video on how to transplant and propagate Monstera, the split leaf philodendron plant, really popular house plant. Just takes nice sharp pruners, some fresh potting soil,
a new pot that can drain well. So, you know, location you can grow it indoors or on a patio, and you're off and running. And then of course, what you leave behind and what you cut is actually got repotted as well, and that'll regrow again. And so now where we had one plant, now we've got two, or double the plants in this case. And then as they grow more, we can take more cuttings. And so this will be a great little home for these Monstera to live here and do well for us. All right, well that wraps it up from our garden to yours. Happy gardening and best wishes.